Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the U.S. Representative for Texas 21st Congressional District, Congressman Chip Roy.
Well, good afternoon, Texas. It is great to be back. I flew back here from Washington, D.C. this morning. We managed to get a debt ceiling bill through to stick it to the Democrats, try to get the job done for you guys. About 10 days ago, we passed a border security bill through the Judiciary Committee despite the opposition of Democrats and maybe a handful of Republicans, and we got it through, ready to get through the House floor. Let me ask you a question. Are you guys tired of Texas being attacked? Are you tired of Texas being taken for granted by the rest of this country? Are you tired of your own children, your own community dying from fentanyl driven by cartels? Are you tired of empowering China and pretending that they're not killing our own in our own communities? Well, so am I. And I'm so proud that so many of you came out here today to show the world, to show this country, to show this state that Texans aren't going to sit by and allow this to continue to happen. How many more? That's the question, and it's the right question to ask. I'm sick and tired of having to talk to moms like Sarah and like the other moms that I see out here that I've grieved with. Virginia Krieger, whose daughter was lost to fentanyl. The hundreds of you who are connected to people who lost their children and their loved ones to fentanyl. The 6 children who have died in Hays County, where I live, just outside of Austin, just in the last 6 months from fentanyl. The 9 or 10 that don't make the news that had to be revived with Narcan. How many more? How many more are we going to lose before we do something here in this state or in our national capital? How many more migrants themselves have to die while people pretend that it is compassionate to have open borders? I know Texans, I know you all, and you all want a secure border because it's hurting us, and it's hurting our families, and it's hurting our ranches, and it's hurting our communities. But you're also Christians and compassionate Texans, and you don't want to see another dead migrant die in a tractor trailer like the 53 who died in the Texas heat in San Antonio last summer, or the 856 who died along the Rio Grande and along the southwest border last year. The thousands that are in the sex trafficking trade as we speak in the supposedly strongest and most powerful nation in the history of the world. While we're sitting here right now, some little girl is in the back of a car on I-35 getting taken God knows where. How long? How many more? How many more politicians are you going to listen to say they're going to secure the border and then they don't do a damn thing to do it? I will tell you that we're doing everything we can in Washington against the recalcitrant Senate and President. You've got a House of Representatives led, by the way, by the House Freedom Caucus and the 20 who stood for you in January. That we're standing up for you. And as I said, we passed a good bill 10 days ago, and we're going to get that bill across the finish line, and it does the job. It's the strongest border security bill that I've seen move off of the House floor. It does the job. But you know what we're going to run into in the Senate, and you know what we're going to run into at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. So we've got 2 things we've got to do. Keep the heat up in Washington, yes. But we got to do something about it in Texas. I want to thank my friend Matt Schaefer for leading on legislation to try to push the legislature to act. And I do want to take a second. I want to thank every one of the law enforcement officers, DPS, all of the great guys that are out there on the line, out there defending us. I'm telling you, they're down there doing the Lord's work. Border Patrol can't do it. They're overwhelmed. They're processing. This administration doesn't care. And DPS is down there filling the breach. And no, We don't have the policies in place yet that I think all of us want to say that this state is going to send a loud message that under the Constitution of the United States, we get to decide how to secure Texas. We get to decide how to secure the border. But I don't want to lose sight for a minute what those brave men and women are doing in DPS going down and secures. For another round of applause, because they're doing the Lord's work. I go to the border as often as I can, usually about every other month. I think I was last down there in February. I think I'm due for another trip. But every time I go down, it's the same old thing. And it's been the same old thing now for as long as I can remember. The only change at any point along that trip was when President Donald Trump stopped the flow by changing the policies that Mark Morgan just told you about. Those are the policies that this country must adopt. We are a compassionate country, but we are a sovereign country. We should export the rule of law rather than importing fentanyl and lawlessness and dangerous cartels. That's our duty as Texans. That's our duty as Americans. The thing that I will ask of each and every one of you is to engage in this legislature for the remainder of this session. Engage in this legislature with your state rep and your state senator and the statewide elected leadership. Look, they want to protect Texas, but they got to know that you all are behind them, and they got to be encouraged every single day through the end of this session, because there's a lot of people who want to say no, who have excuses for why we shouldn't do what we know we need to do as Texans. There's always a lot of talk every year on March 2nd. There's always a lot of talk about Texas independence and a lot of talk about the Alamo. We walk around San Antonio, we pat ourselves on the back about how great Texas is. Well, are we going to show it again? When those men stood on the wall and we praise what they did for us, and we remember it and we pass it down to our kids and grandkids, or at least we do. Our schools don't always do it. But we know that's what we should do. But you got to ask yourself why. When you guys or your grandparents, your grandfathers, your great-grandfathers stormed the beach at Normandy, when they were sitting in a foxhole in Bastogne, freezing, like when they were in the Pacific, fighting Japan, going all the way back to the Alamo, all of those sacrifices that we regale every Memorial Day, every Veterans Day, every Texas Independence Day, it's got to be something more than words. People say, Chip, what are you doing out there when you guys were down there? And oh my God, they were so mean to you on Fox News and the tweets, and they were, good grief. That's not bullets flying at you at Normandy. It's just words. If they're going to get mad at you at your church group or at the school board or in your local community because you dare stand up, that's a small price. Speak up. You have my commitment as a member of the United States Congress in the Texas delegation from right here in Central Texas. You have my commitment to continue to fight to secure the border of the United States. And whoever shouts things like prove it, let me Google that for you. I have stood up and I'll continue to stand up as I did last week to fight strong legislation and get it passed. When everybody else is watching, we passed the bill. And we're going to pass that through the House, and we're going to send it to the Senate, and we're going to keep fighting. The same way the 20 sat on the floor of the House and stared down the establishment in Washington, we're going to stare them down on the border, and we're going to stare them down on the spending. You guys didn't elect me. Those of you who are from the Texas 21st District and the other Republicans, you didn't send us up there for second place. Our job is to go up there and fight for Texas. Our job is to go up there and represent you. We are a sovereign state and a sovereign nation, and our job is to defend the border of the United States. And yes, we need to do that in Washington. But the strongest message that you all can send is if this body, these bodies, send a loud message to the world that Texas is not going to put up with this for another day. Now, I'm just the warm-up act to Laura Logan. That's what you guys are actually here for. So, I also know never to overstay your welcome. But I do just want to say this. This is the greatest state in the greatest country in the history of the world. But there are some folks out there that are wondering whether we've lost our mojo a little bit in Texas. And I think it's about time that we demonstrate to the world that Texas is as strong as it's ever been, and that we're going to stand up for the Texas that we knew, that we inherited from our parents and grandparents, and that we're going to pass down to our kids and grandkids. We're going to be sovereign. We're going to be free. We're going to be strong. We're going to promote and protect parents. We're going to stop what's happening with the cartels. We're going to secure our borders, stop the fentanyl, stand by law enforcement instead of the lawless taking over our streets. We're going to cut property taxes. We're going to make sure that parents have a voice in their schools. I'm a Texan, and when somebody here tells me to stay in my lane, I'm in my lane. I'm a Texan. So thank you all for coming out here today. Thank you to Mark Meckler and all the great people who put this up. Thank you to the great patriots like Mark Morgan. We can't secure this border without the help of great people like Mark Morgan, friends like George Rodriguez, all of the people that tell the truth about the border every day. Stay on top of it, spread the word, keep standing up for Texas, and then we'll be able to say that we passed down the greatest state in the greatest country in the history of the world to our kids and grandkids. God bless you all.